It's a really interesting question, and interestingly enough, of course, a lot of people relate my work to the future. But the last 6 months, I've actually been quite inspired by a book that is called The Order of Time, which on a scientific level shows that time is really a human concept. So maybe I'm going too philosophical here, but I'm starting to understand that our future is so much more related to our daily decisions and to our past, that I'm would want to answer this question really in a way that I would want to have my in a way that I would answer the question now. And it's almost a question like, how do you want fashion or your life to be here and now? And I think once you really know to answer that question, I think the future is very related to that. I think you can be a designer without thinking about the future as long as you sense the future. It's indeed, I do think when you're creative, the only way to be creative is to be very sensitive for the world around you. You need to pick up what is going on, and everyone can do that in a personal way. So you won't be all picking up the same things, but there is always, within arts, architecture, science, even biology, there is movements going on. And I think as a designer, you really want to follow the flow. You want to follow the movements that are up in the air. They are not findable on the internet. They are not like, there's not a shortcut to them, but it's really that sixth sense, being sensitive, being open-minded, and being curious. I think curiosity is a very underestimated value for being a designer. Yeah, it's interesting. There's indeed some stigmas around this view towards the future, where it's often very retro. It's these old school perceptions on futuristic materials that are always like silver and metal, or like, and it still sticks to the future. I don't know why people are still thinking about it that way, because when I think of the future, it's a future where the human creation is really becoming intelligent enough to understand the cycles within nature. And none of the technology that we have today is even close to the intelligence within nature. And that is also a big misperception of a lot of people, where they think computers or AI or technology is super high-end and intellectual, and nature is sort of this old school origin that we come from. But it really is the opposite. Like, the things we have created today are not close to the intelligence that is captured within nature itself, because that is really understanding the global interconnectedness of all the trillion of layers that are alive. And that is, I think, a consciousness that will be changing very rapidly within the next decades. So we will start understanding that this future that we're working towards becomes well, this is my dream, but I do think it will be that way. We'll become much more in tune with the natural cycles that we are part of. We will understand more who we are. We will understand how we can survive. We will understand how interconnected we are. And technology and innovation will really start responding to that knowledge, and that future, I think, will be very organic. It will be materials that are, can I say, alive? The concept of what is alive and what isn't is also a whole discussion on itself, but I really think materials will become more organic. We are able to grow our fabrics. They will become part of a cycle, and so as fashion, I think the whole concept of a product will slowly be able to dissolve. It's strange in a way, because in my work I've always embraced transformation, change, and I think that movement of recalibrating yourself, I think, is very essential within the background I come from, within dance. But also my inspiration that comes from scientists a lot, I think, is very related to that, where they are always looking for that new perspective. So I have trained myself to embrace change, but I must confess I wasn't prepared for this. 2020 has radically put my world upside down. Part of it is that my work is so collaborative, and it has been spaceless in the sense that I always collaborate with people from all over the world. So there are no borders. Like, the globe is very small in that sense, in my mind, that everyone can be part of that collection, and that collaborative process is so beautiful and it's so organic that I really had to change that. And in a way, that year or 1.5 years has been much more confined and introvert, and I think there's definitely a beauty to that as well. I think generally it's easy to be distracted and to be going everywhere at the same time. Being confronted to yourself and your own personal decisions, also in creative development, is very confronting. But I think like meditation or any sense of self-growth, I think it's important to have it now and then. And I think this moment, without people wanting it, I think this has been a year for a lot of people where they have been confronted to look at themselves, to see what they like, what they don't like, where they want to grow, where they want to evolve. And I do see the beauty of this period at the same time. So maybe we have been less focused on our future for a little bit. I think this year has made more impact on a positive note for our near future than a lot of years before that. I think we are in a snowball effect of change. Fashion the last years have become much freer in what it means to be a model, what beauty means, the meaning of diversity and inclusivity, the meaning of sustainability, the meaning of value almost. I think as a creative brand, I have felt a lot more is possible nowadays, and partly that comes because we don't have to necessarily do one show one way. You see a lot of brands are doing it their own way now, releasing a collection at the moment they want to release it. Maybe it's online, maybe it's physical. People have a lot more ways to be creative, and I think that also gives room for the young generation, because it all has become more flexible, and I think that is the beginning of that snowball effect of change, which I think will only become bigger and bigger. And I think it might sound scary from one hand, but I think it also really opens a lot of new doors, which I think is really exciting. And I also really feel that there is this movement of collaboration happening, where fashion is starting to become much more interactive with politics, with science, with basically all the layers of life. Fashion has been a bubble for a very long time, and it's really opening up. And you can sense it with fashion designers themselves, but also within the audience, and even the writers and the journalists. Like, everyone starts to get a wider perspective and a wider interest, and starts to implement those new perspectives into fashion. And I think that's really, really, really exciting. Mostly when I get the answer, where do I see myself in 5 or 10 years, my answer has always, I start again. Mostly when I get the question where I am or where I want to be in 5 or 10 years, I answer with, I don't really want to know, because I think once you start making those wishes or dreams or decisions, you're confining yourself at the same time. And I've always had a quite adventurous spirit, and I really don't want to lose that. So although I'm in a quite sort of stable direction for the past 15 years, I do want to keep my future open. I'm a fashion designer by heart, but I have a lot of interest in other disciplines. So the way I will implement those disciplines in fashion, I hope will still change over time. And I have always seen myself as an explorer of new land, and I think there's still a lot to explore, but the ways I will get there, I really wanna keep it open. This is pretty far out, but I would love to create a collection for a place like Mars or the Moon that is freed from gravity. I know it's very far out and it will probably never happen, but as a designer, I realize how set my mind is on the natural laws that I'm living in. And this collection, Earthwise, has been quite experimental, because it was already trying to be freeing that a little by working with Domi and working up in the air, working more dimensional, working on very different almost physical laws, I would say. And in my work as a dancer background, I'm so focused on movement and transformation that gravity has almost become both my god and my enemy. That it will probably never happen, but as a designer, I would love to be at a place at some point where all the physical laws would be the opposite. And it would spin my mind so radically that it will probably influence my full creative process. Yeah.